Hard But Worth It podcast. My name's Kirk. This is Mitch. We're with Icon Coaching. And today we're with Jeff Spence at the GrowTech Fest down in Chico, the largest tech conference north of Sacramento. We came down here to run some interviews and hear their stories of what they're doing and how they're making a difference. So Jeff, start us out by telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do, what your roles are that you fill.
Yeah, Jeff Spence. I'm a serial entrepreneur / investor. I've been in venture capital, private equity, mezzanine lending, hedge funds. Yeah, so I do it globally. So I've made investments in 50 some odd countries and traveled to pushing 100. So
Yeah. And so I understand too, maybe as a hobby / way to get around.
Yeah.
Maybe leverage it for your investing. You are a pilot.
I am.
Pilot. How do you utilize that skill?
Carefully.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah. I try to land. I try to get as many landings as I have takeoffs. Yes,
that's
exactly.
Right.
So, so as much of my domestic travel as I can do, I will do, at least regionally, I'll try to fly myself. I can shrink time and shrink space by doing that. And so I found that I travel enough internationally, I travel commercially everywhere, that I can get a lot done in a short amount of time bouncing around on my own plane.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah,
well, you're a keynote here at the GrowTech Fest.
Yeah.
And we're also at Sierra Nevada Brewery, where you were just standing on stage in the big, audience there. You were the keynote speaker. That's what your name tag says.
It says keynote speaker. Exactly.
There you go. So talk to us today. What's the big idea you're carrying right now in your heart? What's kind of the passion you're running with?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that and I did speak to my heart there. I think that was, for me, we have a lot of people who are chasing what they believe are the right things to do, and they're playing business. Here's the rule book, follow this rule book. I learned it in business school, or I learned it from a mentor, or I learned whatever. And the reality is that a lion's share of them, and I talk about a mass proportion of them, are doing the things every single day that aren't getting them any closer to their goal, right? While this very small percentage of people just lucked into it, had the right guidance or whatever, that are just absolutely running roughshod over everybody else, And so the concept being is that what those small proportion of the winners are doing is not rocket science. It really isn't. It's just it's actionable things that can be conveyed and can be taught to everyone else. And and as an investor, as an entrepreneur, you don't want to know this because I want to build business, biz wealth for yourself. But as an investor, you want to have entrepreneurs that are creating great wealth. And so that's what I'm trying to communicate here, for sure.
So when you're listening to, I'm sure you hear a lot of pitches, sit with a lot of entrepreneurs that would like to be invested in. That's kind of the gig, right?
Yeah.
When you're sitting with them, what is one of those pet peeves or things that you're just like, again with this? Come on, right? What do we need to cut out of our pitches today?
Yeah. So one is that somehow they come in like there's a performance to be had.
Sure.
I'm here, I've been taught, this is how I should teach
mechanics.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm here to speak. I'm here to put a performance
Here's
on
the
for an
recipe.
investor.
Because clearly the most charismatic entrepreneur is the best entrepreneur, right?
That's not a thing. You go, that's horrible. And what happens with most of them, they don't understand that investors are actually in a business too. We're selling a product just like they're selling, right? I'm selling money, right? I'm gonna give you a bunch of money, and I'm gonna
one of their vendors.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. And so for us, it's tell me why, right? This is tell me why this is gonna be a good opportunity for me to make money. Show me how I make money. Don't whiz bang me about all the 1,000 things you're trying to do in your business and wax poetically about customers that love you and whatever. Just let's understand why I am in business and speak to me as a business person, just like you're selling me, just like you're selling a business to business customer.
I think that's kind of the challenge these days too, where startup culture, entrepreneur, most successful entrepreneurs that I know, which I know a few, they didn't go to school for it. In fact, we just listened to one on stage, Ariel, who's running the Bear almond milk. She's like, well, I didn't really go to college. There's this
says
idea,
it sheepishly, like it was bad or something.
But we create these spaces where there are some ingredients to successful leadership, entrepreneurship. So it's this idea of doing things right, but at some point doing things right doesn't get the job done as much as doing the right things. And you're talking about you can do all the things right and still be missing the right thing. And yet some show up and they're doing all the things wrong, but they got the right things right and they're getting the investment.
Yeah, you're spot on. And so for me, if I had two people come in and the first person came in and said, hey, listen, my business is kind of in shambles. I don't know. I got water leaking out of the ceiling. I got no finances, whatever else. But hey, I've built a product that everybody wants and it solves this huge problem. Right? Money will fall from the sky on top of that person. Right? The next person comes in and goes, I've got this management system in place. My processes are great. My technologies are great. Everything is there, but I'm a commodity product. Effectively, I'm one of 10 selling to customers. They don't really know who I am. But man, my books are clean. I've got, and they're sitting there, why can't I raise capital? Well, you've focused on the wrong stuff. You over-indexed on things that really didn't matter. And that's what I love about, again, Ariel in here. She goes, I worked on an organic farm and I saw there was a gap in the market. And I think I'm just tearing up. Thinking, that's beautiful. And she's making almond milk right now. And that's absolutely fantastic. And no one's going to go, yeah, I see your almond milk's fantastic. But I'm looking at your P&L right now, and there's a line item in here that doesn't jive with your nonsense. Right? Investors want to see that because they know you're putting your time and effort in things that actually matter.
Exactly. I have a friend who says the right thing in the wrong time is the wrong thing. And so what you're talking about is there is a level of scale and process that's required at a certain point. But if you push that in front of the startup step of, creating a validation, your minimum viable product, your first customer, identifying your market, then you're just moving ahead too fast. You're getting something out of order.
Yeah, and it could even be more caustic than that, because what happens is if my systems or my process get in front of my product, then my product begins to follow my systems and process. I'm afraid of breaking those systems. So I can't pivot. I can't change things, right? And so that's the worst thing. It's almost the greatest handcuffs in the world is to have a fine oiled machine of a business with a lesser product.
Right.
Because I'm stuck.
I'm stuck. It's rigid at that point. And you've probably hired a bunch of people that are highly invested in systematizing something.
Yes, they're geniuses.
And that culture now can't let go.
Yeah. And now we're doing the same thing over and over again.
I'm wondering if you can pull back the curtain just a little bit for us on the life of an investor.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people think, oh, you're an investor, you've made it, you've succeeded, you're now giving back, that kind of thing. And like you just said, you're actually just running another business, right? What's been some of the challenges, or what made this transition into becoming an investor hard?
I think a lot of it is when you come from an entrepreneurial background, everything is truth. Right, it truly is. I mean, you are living in a world where if I execute today, I sell a product tomorrow, I reap the benefits from it the next day. It's all logical. Then you become an investor, right? And everybody who's talking to you is telling you half truths. And not they're lying to you, but you don't really live in a world of like moving from one point to another. Everything you're looking at, you kind of are a little bit calling BS on everything. The other part of that is that you're a step removed from being able to actuate anything, right? You can't actually impact those things. And so it takes a whole bunch of patience. And for me, it was, I'm speaking about investors. For me, it was easier because I'm kind of a crappy operator. Like I truly am. I'm not a great operator. And so I was kind of always detached. I was surrounded by amazing people who did those things. So for me, moving into investment was like home. It was
what makes it home? What is that?
It was really the fact that ultimately, I would always, I would want to say, standing up, getting an award for a fast-growing company. Deep down, it was imposter syndrome. Like it was the people that I was mentoring or supporting or just providing some sort of guidance to that were doing 100% of the work. Mm-hmm. Well, now I can be an investor, and that's what I'm known for: is mentoring and guiding and providing resources to people to do it. So it felt like I was actually now what I was supposed to be doing, versus other people who are built great businesses and it was on them. They were the smart guys who did it. Now they move into investors and they're going, this is just wonky. Like I'm trying to drive this car by yelling at the driver, right? Instead of holding the steering wheel. Mm-hmm. I was always the guy in the back seat yelling at the driver, right? So it was just a natural thing for me to be in that mode.
Yeah. So that sounds like you're describing something that comes from inside, an intrinsic motivation that causes you to show up and keep doing this work.
Yeah.
Could you frame that and put it in your own words, what that feels like? What is that thing that's driving you?
Yeah.
home, we
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah. I think, I'm a believer that everybody is driven by some sense of purpose. There's absolutely, there's no doubt about that to me. And I'll meet with some entrepreneurs as an example and go, I'm not investing in you because I love your business. Technology is fantastic. You don't belong here. Like you have another purpose. You should be doing something else, right? And so as for me, I have seen so many businesses move and even the businesses that I've been in be able to progress and do things that are phenomenal. And you see the downstream effects of those things, whether it's employment or you see people's families and they've had kids and they grow up under the umbrella of this business and it's all amazing. And when you are the entrepreneur, you touch one business for 5 years, 8 years, 10 years. Like your impact is so specific. It's amazing. It's awesome. And it's closer. It's more, I guess maybe you'd say it's more intimate, but what I felt was for me moving into the investor core, it was everything that I knew, everything that I was good at could now be franchised horizontally across multiple companies.
Yeah.
And so that to me was, and it is, and will always be, I will never go back into a company to run it. Not because I'm bad, I am, but because now I feel like I'm focusing
because you found what you're great at.
Yeah,
it's that good to great thing, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I can impact multiple companies.
Yeah, and I think too, like when I talk to people who've arrived successfully as entrepreneurs, they built their business, maybe they're in a certain spot where it's just scaled and running good, and they love it, or they've exited. There comes a point where you have a decision to make. Yeah. Where it's like, what's the next thing I'm going to build? Because most entrepreneurs, they're builders.
Absolutely.
Right? They're getting out there building something, getting it going. But the question is, do I go build another thing, another business, or do I go build people?
Yeah.
And it sounds like part of the shift
people.
for you is you built your thing, and then you said, okay, I'm gonna go do something again, but I want to impact people, and you stepping into investing is a way to get behind more. You talked about this horizontal impact.
Yeah.
Sounds like influence.
Influence is certainly the case. And some of it is, it's 100%. It's a really good way of framing it up. I wouldn't have framed it that way. But I would say that it's also a little bit of guilt that for some reason, and I don't know why, because it's not intellect. It really isn't. I've never been in a business course in my life. I don't have any formal education. I was exposed to, was exposed to, the best way of saying it, things that worked for companies to be successful, generating the resources necessary to go build great businesses. I learned that. And I could sit in a room with 100 entrepreneurs and I know that 99 of them don't know that.
Yeah.
Right? So I go, so where's the biggest dent that I could create would be taking that information and getting it to the other 99. Not taking all that, pouring it into one company.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I know is a very thin, almost immeasurable slice of what's required to run a business. But it's franchisable and it's something that I can distribute out to a greater number of people.
That's awesome.
So if there was a tip that you could give to these startup companies that are in this space of they're doing a lot of the things right and they're still fumbling through it, what would be a tip or two that you could give them today to say, hey, while you're doing these things, don't forget to do this? Is there like a 1, 2, 3 list that you have?
A bit. I'll start and we'll see if I stop at 1, 2, or 3.
Okay.
So one I would say is that the greatest error, and I think I said it today in the keynote, the greatest error that entrepreneurs make is to right size their opportunity for the resources that they have, right? So what happens is all of these, you see them every time, I wanted to go do X, this was a great idea, and now I'm derating or reducing the opportunity. And that's where it's the graveyard for entrepreneurs, is having average businesses that run and slowly die over time, right? We don't call them failures. The stats will say they survived over 5 years, which meant they were successes, but they were not successes and they failed. That's number one. So to not do that. And you say, well, but if I'm not getting resources, how do I not do that? I have to do it to survive. And so my statement would be, that one of those steps would be, always reevaluate the opportunity that you've created, because if it's not attracting resources, it's not a great opportunity.
It's not what you think it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So always be interrogating the opportunity. Always know there's far more resources out there than there are than there are businesses.
Right.
We think that there's a resource constraint. There's $1 trillion of highly available
That's
capital
really good.
on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And by the way, remember, I'm in a business. The business is I have to push money out to make money. So if there's $1 trillion and these guys want to get 20% return, I'm saying they've got a $200 billion opportunity cost. That's a far bigger issue than you have. So if you're not getting capital or you're not getting the resources, your business isn't what it should be. Focus on creating the business opportunity. And it's not just for money. Why am I not getting talent? Because my opportunity isn't great. Why am I not getting strategic partners? My opportunity isn't great. So always reframing the opportunity would probably be the number one goal, and you'll find resources flow.
I love that. Right now, there's got to be at least 100 entrepreneurs that think they're ready to come sit in front of you and ask for money.
Yeah.
So how do they get ready? What does a ready person sound like?
Yeah.
And then once they've qualified themselves, how do they actually find you?
Yeah. I would say you're ready when you know how I make money, right? Because you wouldn't approach me if you wouldn't approach me if you didn't know that I could make money, right? So that's number one. And too often the entrepreneurs will go and talk to me about an opportunity that doesn't fit my cost of capital, right? I'm a venture capitalist and they bring me a private equity deal. I'm a private equity guy and they bring me a VC deal. Or I'm a Series A guy and they bring me a Series B deal, or vice versa, typically vice versa. So understanding how I make money and what I'm looking for is a key. The same exact thing as me going and selling software to somebody and realizing my software doesn't fit their business at all, right? And they go, well, I keep losing deals. Well, they couldn't. They don't have your problem. Yeah, they don't have your problem, right? So that's a big one, is understanding that we run a business, sell to us like it's a B2B transaction, right? You're selling me equity that fits my portfolio. I'll give you all the cash that you need, and I'll buy as much as I possibly can if it fits my need. So that's number one. And I say how they'd find me. I'm a little bit of an odd bird. Like I don't, I'm in a number of funds. All the stuff that I do typically comes from random contacts. They're welcome to find me on LinkedIn and send me a personal note. That's great. But I would say is that 90% of them, which is not a bad thing, 90% of them, their deal won't fit what I invest into.
Right.
But my point being, the first point is there's an enormous population of people out there whose deal fits exactly what they're looking for. And if they just focus on that, they will find the wind in their sails is incredible. And people just don't. They say Jeff Spence investor.
Right.
Great. Yeah, what do you?
Too broad.
Yeah, right.
It's like saying restaurant.
Right. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
I need more information.
Yeah. I need more information.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jeff. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Absolutely enjoyed it.
Appreciate your keynote today and you participating.
Good. Thanks for the time.